Hey guys, Jonathan here at Night Knowledge. I always really admire my friends Eric and Mike who play their games at the hardest difficulty, and State of Decay is no different. After having not played the game in nearly a year and a half, Eric went straight to Dread Mode difficulty, while Mike went into Nightmare difficulty. There's a big difference between the difficulties of Normal and Nightmare, and today I'm going to show you my top 5 tips to surviving in Nightmare. Let's get started. So we're going to cover 5 tips today, including being stealthy, the value of cars and outposts, being prepared, and getting help. And at the end, I'm going to throw in a bonus of how to determine what melee weapons to keep and which to sell or salvage. So loud guns in normal mode was always risky as it would summon additional zombies. But in Nightmare mode, you'll get a nigh endless stream of zombies if you're causing a lot of noise. And because of this, it's critically important to use guns with silencers or use crossbows. At the beginning of the game, it might be hard to acquire a silencer, so you'll be using a crossbow. Remember, you can craft bolts and crossbows themselves at a workshop level 2. Remember, you can remove silencers from guns and transfer them to other guns for whichever character you're in control with. In my other State of Decay video, I talked about how we should park our extra cars in front of our side entrances to prevent zombies from entering the base during sieges. In Nightmare mode, we're going to use them to save our lives. You'll notice the wandering hordes in Nightmare mode to consist of far more zombies, sometimes with freaks, in tow. There are also going to be way more of them. This is a far deadlier mode, so jump on top of cars, bus shelters, shipping crates, anything nearby when you get overwhelmed. Use this time to get collected, use every bullet or bolt wisely and defeat the horde, or find an opening to make an escape. The good news is, most zombies can't hit us while we're on top of cars. The bad news is, ferals can climb up, so keep that in mind. In normal mode, I typically spread out outposts around by placing them strategically in locations that generate resources that I'm lacking. You'll probably do the same in Nightmare mode, but because traveling is much more dangerous, my third tip to you is to change outposts whenever you're full and still need to continue scavenging. When you remove an outpost, you'll get a little more than 50% of the influence back that you initially paid for it, making it a little harder to do in the early stages of the game. The good news is, with the increased amount of zombies, that means more freaks. We're talking about consistently finding triple screamers, triple bloaters, meaning more influence in a shorter time. When I first started playing, when the game launched, I used to only ever carry the ammo in the magazine of the equipped gun for my character, along with 1 stack of healing pills to maximize my looting efficiency. In Nightmare mode though, you better come equipped for war. With more zombies, you'll be using more ammo and being in melee combat more often. You'll quickly find yourself running out of stamina, and stamina, you'll find out, is your true lifeblood. If you're low on stamina, you can't fight in melee, and you can't escape Zeds. So when playing in Nightmare mode, I'd recommend equip a full stack of healing pills, snacks, 1 full stack of bullets or bolts. One additional thing I'll bring is a toolkit, because you'll find drivable cars in this mode that are most likely fully destroyed. In my last video, I said a great way to earn influence is to join other players' games. Your characters will gain experience, you'll gain loot, and you won't have to pay the daily maintenance costs. It may sound familiar, but even one friend that joins your game makes it that much easier. Having one extra person looking over your back increases your safety. Especially now, since you're encountering larger hordes, triple ferals, and even double plague juggernauts, you'll need every bit of DPS. So those are my top 5 tips for playing in Nightmare mode, and as promised, let's now talk about how to determine what are the best melee weapons. We'll talk about each melee weapon stat and their importance first. Impact determines how long a zombie stays knocked down, while knockdown determines how often it'll proc a knockdown when a zombie is hit. Blunt weapons will typically have high stats in both, so they work together. There is Dismember, which is how often each swing will dismember a zombie. Lethality is how often it'll outright kill a zombie. High stats of these are typically found in bladed weapons. Speed is how fast you swing, while ease of use is how much stamina that each swing will use up. The better ease of use, the less stamina it uses up, and the longer that you'll be swinging. There is quietness, but I feel that it doesn't matter too much. And finally, there's durability. The higher the better. This is especially important because unlike guns, melee weapons cannot be fixed in the field. So knowing this, when it comes to blunt weapons, I'd recommend prioritizing stats in this order: impact, knockdown, ease of use, then speed. Impact should be the most important because you'll probably be using striking as your specialized fighting skill, meaning you'll be using Grand Slam, which automatically knocks down the Zeds, so keeping them down for as long as possible is key. For bladed weapons, the order of stat priority I recommend is lethality, ease of use, speed, then dismember. When using swords, you're aiming to kill Zeds quickly without having to rely on quick finishers. To that end, lethality is important, but also ease of use because you'll be swinging a lot more. To save time, I've looked at the melee weapons of the 3 categories of bladed, blunt, and heavy, and these are some of the better ones. Bear in mind that some are rarer than others, and to use what you learned today when you don't have them. For bladed items, there is a bounty weapon called the High Angle Rescue Hatchet, the common Bowie Machete, the Sweet Skull Sword, the Masterwork weapon of Rebar Blade, and finally the pre-order DLC Grass Cutter. For blunt weapons, there is the Independence Day DLC of the Freedom Ringer Bat, the Rare Mace, and the common Pipe Wrench. And finally, for heavy weapons, the Double Bit Axe and the Splitting Maul are 2 of the better options. So that'll conclude today's video. I hope it helps you out in Nightmare mode. Let me know in the comments below any strategies you use when you specifically play in Dread or Nightmare difficulty. Check out the rest of my channel for other videos on State of Decay 2, video games, board games, and other fun things. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.